Okay, hi, welcome back to the Dylan Rounds case. Today, bit of a discussion video. So whilst this is like in a live premiere, as the live chat is ongoing, people can share ideas, responses, and talk about other stuff as well. And I'll reply back as well, okay? So where do we begin? Well, first of all, originally, the idea was to be making that burnout trailer analysis video from that earthworm guy, but once again there needs to be links established from the last video because there was some interesting things mentioned within the chat. You know, it's kind of back and forth. Some people believe in that Salty Pancakes and two other guys, Kurt and somebody else beginning with a G, was responsible for burying those items and stuff. Other people believe it's directly to do with Chase. And we're going to get more into that very shortly. And that's the point of this video, okay? But as well, be bringing up a few other little bullet points in between to certain individuals, events, and I will be giving my honest opinion on the situation, the case itself later on. So make sure to stick around for that. Is there anything else I need to bring into this video right now? To some people, it'll be like, what the fuck? But I did see somewhere that a few people wanted to see the penguin return. So there you go. Say hello to the penguin. Yeah, he's not talking much at the moment. Now, a little backstory. When I did a previous video with Silverheels, I mean the penguin, I had to make the penguin sound, you know, as like it was replying to me. But because of copyright on YouTube, and really all the sound effects on YouTube were like from the nature ones, it was a bit risky. So what I had to do was watch the odd video and then I had to do a penguin sound impression. Now, okay, as you've seen, I've done a few previously, but I've never done a penguin sound before. So basically, you get different sounds. I guess it depends what type of penguin at the end of the day. Like I've seen some where it sounds like an inward sound and in others it's more of a higher pitch one. Maybe it varies, but when I was doing a video, I'd have to talk and say, so what are you talking about today? What's on your mind, Silverheels? And then I'd have to do the sound like something like that. Now, the reason why I've covered my face is because my face spazzes out when I'm doing certain impressions, obviously. So that's one thing. And also, when I looked at the tag of this, I don't know why, I don't know if you can see. Oh shit, it's reversed. It's reversed, isn't it? It says Paws. Penguin called Paws, or the brand. So does that mean it's a dog toy? What the fuck is a dog going to do with a bloody penguin? You know, and then bite it and then send it back to the ice caps or something. I don't know. I don't know where to put this, to be honest. If I put it down here, you can't see it. If I, will it rest on me? No. Oh shit. I'll just have to put him here for now, okay? This looks so dodgy, right? Anyone joins now and then sees this thing stuck up. Penguin, do you want your flippers tucked in or tucked out? You don't want to get too cold, do you? Wow. He's being awkward, isn't he? There you go. It's a good thing this top's a bit stretchy so it can withhold it. So as I carry on talking, you can either make eye contact with the penguin or me, it doesn't matter either way. So where do we go from here? Well, let's link back to the Dylan Rounds case. As for characters, key individuals, people that stand out, that have been involved heavily or not, just want to go through a few, okay? Because there's certain names that might have been dropped within the chat, comment sections along the way, and people might be like, huh, who's that guy? I'm confused. I don't know who they're referring to. The reason why I say that is because like with the Kenny Veach case, there's a lot of names mentioned, thrown about. You had Sharon, you had Dip Rock, you had KV, which meant Kenny Veach, you had Jeff, you had another Jeff, you had another Jeff, you had a Jay, you had a Chuck. You know, all the names thrown about, and it's like, who's this and who's that? So you need a little bit of a backstory behind each one. And with the Dylan Rounds case, a few names have been mentioned. So we'll just start off with Jim. Now, in addition, the reason why I'm doing this is because there might be new people joining into the mystery who have no clue what's going on, but also people that watch my videos regularly from the past with the Kenny Veach case, so they understand as well. That's why I'm trying to get that balance. So the first one, Jim. There are 2 Jims. You see where this is going, okay? So let's clear this up. You've got Jim Brenner, who's basically one of the key main suspects within the case, the 58-year-old who squats on Dylan's land, originally was living elsewhere but was moved because of attempted assault or attack on a 70-year-old. So that's why that happened. Jim Brenner, he's got a bit of a beard, bit short, bit fat, and so on, and worked for Dylan at some point, okay? Also, he's also known as James Brenner. I prefer to call him James, but I think the majority call him Jim. Now we move on to the next individual, okay? Jim Terry. You see what I mean? 2 lots of Jims. People could get confused when talking in the chat or the comment section. It can happen. And speaking of which, of confusion and misunderstanding of identity, one individual thought I was Jim. So that's a third Jim. I'm supposedly Jim. Don't know if I look like Jim. I don't know if I sound like Jim, but there you go. Someone left a comment saying, "Oh, congratulations setting up your new YouTube channel, Jim." And I'm thinking, who the fuck is Jim? You know. Anyway, Jim Terry is supposedly a private investigator. I've not really looked into him, to be fair, but that's what I've heard. He's a private investigator / YouTuber. And I think I'm correct in saying he's got a YouTube channel which is kind of new. And I think I stumbled across one of his live stream videos earlier, and I did see Julie in there as well. But I didn't stick around because I was doing some other stuff was going on at the time, okay? But from the looks of it, with Jim Terry being a private investigator, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, okay? Was he the private investigator that was fired by the family because he came up with all those ideas about the gay theory, about Dylan being attacked in some way, leading from this to that, maybe gang activity? Certain theories and ideas which maybe the majority wouldn't have come up with to begin with. You know, going in deep, going in hard, thinking of all different kinds of possibilities and the unexplored ones. As said, if I'm wrong, correct me down below, but I'm sure that's what it was about. And because of that, the family weren't happy. The mother especially wasn't. So she fired Jim Terry. And ever since, Jim has been doing, I guess, his own investigation work, appearing on the call-ins, the live streams of the likes of No Thanks. And I think he appeared in one yesterday or so, showing the ideas, talking about the stuff and so on. Let me know what you think about Jim. Do you think he's trustworthy or not? Do you think he's made progress and effective in the case or not? Let me know what you think, your thoughts are within the chat. I can't comment at this moment in time because I've not really looked into him, okay? I did hear one story. I don't know if it's true. I did try looking through the Find Dylan Rounds page on Facebook, but I'm limited because I don't have an account. And when I was scrolling through, I didn't get enough time to scroll, further down, okay? All I saw mainly was to do with the sunflowers, with the recent events and stuff going on in memory or for Dylan, planting, sowing seeds, the lot. But one of the stories tied to Jim Terry, was some individual said the mother has set up a hate campaign against Jim on Facebook. Now, as said, I was looking for it. I couldn't find it. Unless it's on Candy's personal profile. Now that would make more sense, but I haven't personally checked the profile out. That's if one even exists, because I don't have an account on Facebook. I haven't searched it either, so it's just a story at the end of the day. Let me know in the chat, have you heard about it? Is there some kind of hate campaign, some kind of resistance from the mother towards Jim Terry? Feel free to let me know. In my opinion, like the whole hate campaign, if that's even a thing that's been set up, I don't think that would happen unless, let's say, Jim was continuing with ideas, theories, spreading stuff like how he might have brought up to Candice in the first place. If he continued in that manner publicly, then maybe Candice might retaliate. I'm just talking, if that did happen. I'm not saying that it did, I'm just saying I'm not saying it has, but, if it did happen, then that could explain that. But at the same time, would the mother be focused on targeting key people or investigators, or is she too busy dealing with other stuff, obviously? Let me know your thoughts on that. So yeah, you got Jim Brenner, key suspect, Jim Terry, private investigator / YouTuber in recent time. Next, you got Sheldon. Don't know exactly what ties with Dylan, but Dylan did contact Sheldon at some point. I'm sure people were mentioning on a Friday, unless that's another event, something to do with on a Friday, receiving a call. Correct me if I'm wrong. Sheldon received a call from Dylan. It was a voice message or something, maybe 1 minute 19 seconds long, not that much, not that in depth. And Sheldon couldn't, listen to it or something. I don't know if that's because of like a technical error or something, and something went wrong. But I guess it's disappointing because it could have been an extra piece of evidence, and it would have been interesting to see what was said in the call. Was it important? Could it have been Dylan reaching out for help? Was he in danger? Or was he just asking for a favour? I don't know if we will ever know. You don't hear Sheldon or Shelton, depending how you say the name, being talked about much, obviously. But maybe with a bit of noise, you might get more people bringing the name up. Maybe Sheldon might appear and clarify things himself, or someone else might have an updated answer to it. But yeah, I don't know if Sheldon has been interviewed by police, FBI. I mean, if he did receive a call, it would make sense to be questioned, right? So yeah, you've got them. Now, Doug. Who is Doug? A fair few people might think, oh yeah, we know him. But other people might just think, well, who is Doug? At first, I didn't know who was Doug. Now, Doug is from No Thanks. He's the YouTuber, No Thanks, okay? Because this is the thing. You've got all these usernames on YouTube, but they're real names, which might be briefly mentioned in a chat between one another, won't have a direct link because the username and real name are different things, just like mine. So people might get confused. That's why I just wanted to clear it up. Doug, seems to be been around for a while on YouTube, covering all different kinds of cases. I don't know if he covered the Gabby Petito one, maybe some other stuff along the way. And yeah, he's quite regular in terms of the daily uploads, the live streams, the call-ins, joining up with different podcasts and interviewing and getting answers. Doug also appeared on one of the news, was it ABC Utah or Utah News channel? The recent one about Chase, if you remember, Chase being cleared. Now, I know some people have said, well, how can Chase be cleared if he wasn't a part of the investigation to begin with? Yeah, it makes sense. But the word treating, like a warrant or something, like in a sense, they're tying a homicide case with Chase because of the guns and maybe tying it with Dylan in that way. So that's why he's been cleared now of that. But the gun charges, being a felon, owning those firearms, are still ongoing. Maybe that's the way it was worded. But at the end of the day, I'm just relaying it or like quoting it from what has been said on the news. So if the news are also spreading misinformation, then to some people it's like, well, no surprise, no shit, it happens all the time. Yeah. But it doesn't help, obviously. The more people that are purposely creating misinformation, keyword purposely, it does get a little bit harder to see through the stuff. But yeah, Doug appeared in one of those news programs in recent time to do with Chase. Just showed a little snippet of, I guess, one of his previous videos where he was giving his thoughts on it, saying how he's doubtful, he wants like a press release, interviews, kind of like, I guess, with the Jim Brenner outcome. Just so it's a bit more official, a bit more evidence to prove it. I can understand Doug being cautious and like saying, yeah, but what about Chase though? You know, there could still be things ongoing and so on. And, you know, I kind of demonstrated that myself in the last video. And even when I did a poll, and some of you would have seen it in the last live stream, I did a poll saying, is Chase, you know, directly the suspect or a suspect? Yes, no, or does he at least know somebody that is, and he's covering for him or her, whatever? And most people said, I think it might have been 62% maybe, said that he knows someone or something that's gone on. So that would make sense to why he's being treated still as a witness, okay? But then again, the whole witnessing could still be just tied to because Chase was in the presence of Dylan before he disappeared when he was picked up by Dylan. So it could just be that. But yeah, linking back to Doug, he's been around for a bit. He's made quite a bit of noise and, you know, consistency within the case. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I've seen some people criticising Doug in recent times, saying maybe the way Doug's behaviour is, his attitude, the way he talks, some people being blocked by him, Salty Pancakes being blocked by him. Some talk about some kind of $5,000 bounty or reward or challenge set up to Salty Pancakes. There was like weird audio or talk about gang warfare or something with Doug, or going to hire people to come round and take somebody out. You know, all that kind of messy stuff. And maybe we can get into it a bit deeper later on. But you can let me know your thoughts in the chat if any of that is true. Were you around at the time when that sort of stuff escalated? Has it got worse? And your thoughts in general on that, okay? Is there anyone else? Yes, Lance and Kimber. Now, when I heard those names originally, I was like, who are them? Never heard of those people before. But if you hear their username, you might know better. So Lance and Kimber, a couple, who own the YouTube channel Earthworm Infotainment. I hope I said that correctly. Their profile picture, I think, is white with like scribble marks on or something, like drawings. And Earthworm basically volunteered searching for Dylan, probably because, well, it's because they're within the area where they live, their homestead. Volunteering, supposedly they live off-grid as well, so I guess with not having certain ties, restrictions and responsibilities, and being able to be a bit more open and free, both in one's mind and physically, I guess that can also explain to why they're able to do what they do. I think people said that they are busy because they are managing things in the homestead itself, so they've got to get that balance. But in terms of their videos, Lance, you know, regularly uploading videos just like Doug, boots on ground, which is good, obviously. Got some new footage, up-to-date stuff, going around exploring, finding bits and bobs along the way. It's all very helpful, just like with the Kenny Veach case, the way like Scott Natal was, Sean Hall, like Jeff Clark, Jay Chuck, Jay Silverheels, Mystery Hikes, Treasure Trails, etc. They've all played a key part here and there in clearing up ground, what's been searched, what hasn't, and I guess the same applies here in a way. So yeah, that basically explains that. The only other little additional point what I saw was Salty Pancakes did drive past Lance and Kimber's homestead. Just a random point I just wanted to bring up. Salty has been exploring, you know, a few different properties, or, you know, just passing by, such as Ty as well. We'll get into Ty shortly, or maybe I should get into Ty now whilst we're talking, okay? So once again, Ty is a bit back and forth with him. You know, quite a few people say he's good, he's just a normal person, perfectly fine. And then a few are a bit more suspicious and wary, which is fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with being a bit wary and cautious with people. Some people think a bit more of a darker connection or something dodgy going on behind the scenes, like Ty being friends with Chase and Robert Aviles, I believe, that Ty could be covering for those guys directly in the Dylan Rounds case, or maybe just in general due to certain crimes committed. And, you know, because Ty's covering, that's why certain progress hasn't been made. And people said Ty's behaviour changing at times. I said, can't give my full opinion on that because I've not looked much into Ty because I'm covering other stuff in between, okay? So with that in mind, if there is changes in behaviour, that is interesting. With the Kenny Veach case, there was a lot of changes in behaviour, and I mean a lot. You know, key suspects, even investigators who were so passionate about searching and solving the case, and they just snapped like that or changed in different ways. So anything can happen at the end of the day. Even the most stable, level-headed people can just suddenly, you know, turn and then go off the rails or completely change in mindset, direction. I've seen it happen. It can happen, okay? And maybe it's happening here. You know, even if someone is, but do you call it beloved? Or is that when someone's dead? Maybe I got that wrong. When someone is loved, liked, favorited, and then they change down the line, it can cause a few different waves of backlash and stuff, and maybe even confusion to some people. Some people might feel lost. You know, you've listened to someone so long, believed in them, followed them, etc. And then you find out the truth and it's like, oh, that's not good. And then you're like, well, where do we go from there? As for Salty Pancakes with Ty, guess they don't get on well, just like with Doug and maybe some other people. Now, Salty Pancakes did drive past, or kind of like get near to Ty's homestead or farm. It looked a bit messy. Now, I don't know if I've actually captured any of these homesteads, these farms, trailers, whether it be Chase's, Lance Kimber, or Ty, when I did my Google, you know, Earth map analysis videos. You know, yeah, I saw a few trailers and I did see like outlines of land, like fenced, and then a few buildings within and vegetation too. But I don't know whose was who because I don't have the coordinates to match them up. Maybe in the future I could match them up. Don't know if it would help. Then again, maybe one way of interpreting it would be if you can map the locations out, measure the distance from each house to each building, and then from where Dylan was last seen, just get an idea of all the possible distances covered for whatever reason, if you ever want to use it in the future for some kind of reference. So there is that. Some people were saying Ty, his alpacas or something, were running away and they've gone missing. I don't know if that's true. I saw some running, but I don't know, maybe they just wanted to do some exercise. I don't know. But yeah, that's just a little bit on Ty. You know, he has been involved. From the looks of it, he has been a resident of Montello for quite a while. So, okay, he knows the area well, he knows the people well and gets on well with them. Could that create a biasness? Well, yeah, could do. But it's still open for debate, end of the day. You can leave your comments in the chat whilst you're talking. What do you think about Ty and Salty? You know, is there a deeper conflict? Will there be a resolve, or is it just going to get worse? Is Ty going to change again in behaviour, or is it just going to remain as it is? You know, that sort of stuff. Now, is there anyone else? Ed Hirschberger, fuck, why does it sound German? Ed Hirschberger. Ed Hirschberger. Why have I done an Irish accent? I'm trying to do a German one. I don't even know if it is a German accent. Yes, of course, we got Ed Hirschberger. Oh, Hirschberger, guten Tag. Something like that. Now, I think I probably should stop. So with Hirschberger, to be honest, whenever I saw that name, it kept making me hungry. I know with the last video or two with the bar where you saw the Pringles, that made me hungry. And then when I read this name out, Hirschberger, That makes me hungry because I like burgers. So yeah, anyway, so Ed, he's the one responsible for moving Jim onto Dylan's land. Ed Hirschberger ended up renting or buying land from another guy who I forgot the name. Does it begin with an L? I can't remember, but some other guy, okay? So people are saying, oh, Ed Hirschberger is responsible for, Jim doing what he did, becoming the suspect, taking Dylan out because he moved him there. If Ed never moved Jim onto Dylan's land, then Dylan wouldn't have gone missing. It's like what ifs, isn't it? You can leave a comment in the chat. What do you think? Do you think if Jim never moved onto the land and squatted, Dylan would still be alive and okay to this day? I mean, it's one of those questions you don't really ask because it doesn't really help at the end of the day, but it's just one of those deep things, you know. Is Ed responsible in any way? Let me know what you think. I can understand why Ed would have moved Jim. You know, if Jim's within Montello nearby, causing trouble, hurting people, you know, Ed and the community probably don't like that, don't want it. You know, they've got a school nearby, kids, you know, things could get a bit dodgy, people could get hurt. And if he's classified, like as I said in court, as a danger to the general public, they don't want him around. So they kind of like exile him over there into the wilderness almost. So that's one way of looking at it. Now, anybody else? Well, this is a standalone individual, but the name's been brought up in kind of like links with Dylan, and that's Aidan Clune, another missing individual, fairly young, maybe the same age as Dylan or a bit younger or a bit older, who's gone missing, not within, you know, the exact area, but nearby. I don't know if it's a nearby state or a nearby city, okay? But yeah, Aidan has gone missing. How does that link to Dylan? Well, you can leave your comments in the chat whilst I talk through this roughly, okay? But people said Aidan is linked to Dylan. This was one of the original theories, okay? So just hold on. That people thought Aidan could have been in a gay relationship with Dylan, so they decided to hold hands and run away together to get away from it because the community didn't approve of it. Now, yes, I'm sure this is going to cause a bit of trouble in the comments, but I'm just, you know, relaying what has been said previously. That was one of the original theories. Now, in recent time, with I guess people clarifying stuff and saying Dylan isn't gay and the mother reinforcing that, I mean, people could still debate it, obviously. But yeah, if that's the case, then it doesn't seem likely that they got into some kind of relationship, okay? Could they still have run away together? Don't know. You know, are they friends online? Did they meet on social media and message each other, secret messages saying we've got to go, we've got to plan this and that? That would be worth looking into. But nothing has been mentioned yet, so it's probably not likely. But, you know, it's still worth bringing up, okay? Now, is it just Aidan, though? Well, supposedly there is at least 5 to 15 other missing people in the area of, I guess, Utah or Lucin, to be more precise. Don't know if that's entirely true. If it is the case, obviously the more people that go missing in a similar area location, the more suspicious it becomes, right? Becomes more of a crime, reinforces it, because the only other way of interpreting it would be like when you get those, what do you call them, national parks, missing 411 type stuff, where you got a certain area, people visit and then just go missing like that. And the pattern goes on and on. Now, from the looks of it, in comparison with the Kenny Veach case, Kenny went missing supposedly out there in the Mojave Desert, Nevada. And then with time, there was talks about other missing people out there. One individual, what's his name called now? Gene Loskovsky reached out and said, private search and rescue have gone out looking for another missing person within the area near Blackgate Canyon. Now, with that in mind, that's where it got interesting, because you just focus on the fact there was only one person missing, the original case. And when you start hearing the stories about other people out there, it then makes you think, maybe then it could reinforce certain theories and ideas with the original missing person, that there is a pattern going on. And it's trying to understand why that pattern is continuing. Why are certain people going missing? Is it because they're stumbling across the wrong type of people, visiting an area which is dangerous? Or is it based off selectiveness, characteristics within someone? I'll give you an example. It probably doesn't apply now, but I'll just mention it anyway because it's the only one I can give on the spot, okay? So with the original idea that people believed Dylan was gay, people thought that, okay, maybe Dylan was kidnapped, taken away, punished, locked up, hurt for being gay, because certain community members didn't approve of it, didn't like it, so they took it out on him. And if there were other guys there, and well, anyone, if there was anyone there else who was gay, who's also gone missing, then it could, create that pattern, that cycle of anyone who's gay, who is open, or it's revealed, if the other people, the community catch on, then they're going to kidnap him, take him away and dispose of them. You'd have to look into the other missing people, to be honest, if you can, and see what's their background, their relationship status, because if there is a pattern, and it could reinforce the original one with Dylan. If it's not that, and it's just to do with like teenagers, young adults going missing, that could highlight another point, and so on. You can leave a comment down below. What do you think about this? The idea that there are multiple missing people out there within the area or nearby. Are they all tied together? Do you think Aidan Clune is in association with Dylan's outcome? Are they both missing together? Did they ever meet each other or get in contact? Feel free to let me know your thoughts down below. And as well, do you think there is a pattern, a precise, specific pattern of why several people have gone missing in the area? And who do you think is responsible? A singular person, an individual that is tied with, this case, Dylan's disappearance? Or do you think it's a group of guys, like a gang or something? Let me know what you think. So, that ties that up. We might as well move on to, I guess, the other suspects or individuals, tying it on. So, with the whole crime situation, I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions, okay? And you can let me know your responses down below. So, while certain individuals might have been questioned, imprisoned, still or not, it doesn't all seem to be tied with Dylan. And a good example is Chase, as I said, how he was never a part of the investigation to begin with, from what's been said, but he was still questioned and analysed and is still classified as a witness. Now, is he a complete free man? No, because he's still under the charges of being a felon and possession of firearms when he's not supposed to. So he is going to get in trouble for that. In terms of the sentencing, I don't know how long that would be. I did see one comment saying maybe 4 to 8 years. Now with Jim Brenner, I believe he's a felon as well, and he's, in possession of firearms. That's the whole reason why Jim was, trying to get rid of them, But he ended up getting caught, questioned, and, still the main suspect and locked up. So that's the situation there. Now you might be thinking, so what? What's the big deal about it? Well, my opinion is the way things are going is people like the police, the law enforcement, could be using the Dylan Rounds case as a form of crackdown on taking out and capturing other wanted criminals, maybe not in association with Dylan's outcome, but tying it in some way to be able to, focus their operations and movement on the area to crack down on crime and individuals. Because maybe for quite a while, criminals have gotten away for too long in that area, because it does seem like a bit of a lawless place, like Mad Max, vast, desolate areas, unnoticed crime, unreported crime, no CCTV cameras, people turning the other way, some people covering for one another because they know each other very well, and so on. and that's why you might get more people coming over, visiting, or moving out there because of the lack of police. So maybe things have been reported. The genuine people in Montello and around are like, do you know what, with these meth labs, with the shootings, the assaults, the illegal possession of firearms, robberies, burglaries, the lot, we've had enough. Police, can you help in some way? Can you get justice? And it just so happens with Dylan's disappearance case within the area, or nearby at least, police can come in, FBI, whoever, and whilst they're doing the investigations following the Dylan Rounds case, questioning people, on the side note, they're also looking into other suspects tied with completely different cases whilst there. So it's like a 2-in-1 multitask type thing. And that would explain to why someone like Chase, who, although has been cleared of charges with association with Dylan's outcome, is still in prison now because of the gun charges and stealing guns and so on like that. Same with Jim. Hopefully that makes sense. You can leave your thoughts in the chat. What are your thoughts? What do you think? Do you think the police are kind of multitasking at the same time, that there is more going on behind the scenes that meets the eye? And I don't just mean with Dylan's investigation, but in terms of other suspects and other crimes going on. Could any of it tie in with other missing people? So whilst there are investigations by authorities looking into Dylan, could they, be also looking into the other missing people within the area? Or is it just all eyes on Dylan? You never know, because if they're already multitasking and looking at other criminals, they might be secretly tying those with other missing people out there. You can correct me if I'm wrong, if there is actual information or evidence that suggests that police aren't doing that and that's not their intention, then feel free to leave it below, or even a link to an article maybe. It can all help at the end of the day. Now, moving on to the phone of Dylan's, because, a bit random, but I just want to bring it back up because in the last video premiere I did, there was talks about it and some interesting points made, such as what Julie said, and was it Fraser or somebody else? I mean, it might have been Fraser. Two differing interpretations or points mentioned, but they both make sense in some way, okay? So to do with the phone, the original concept or the original discussion was they found his phone, but there's no full-on evidence to prove that. From what I last heard, it was just rumours. Some person said it's hearsay and so on. So with that in mind, it's kind of like, well, you can't go too all in on the idea yet. But what we can do is look back at past activity, okay? So from what I've seen or heard, some people said that Dylan's TikTok page has changed in the profile picture. So when I covered it in my video back then, it was of, I think it was Dylan on one of those snowmobiles in the snow, and it said Trump underneath it, and that was basically it. Someone left a comment saying, it used to be of a different profile picture before he went missing. So when you hear something like that, it's like, what the hell? Why? Who's got Dylan's phone? Who's got access to his accounts? What's going on? Is this somebody taunting? Is it Dylan secretly trying to reach out? What's going on? Well, from what's been said, we'll look at it from Fraser's point of view, if I'm correct in saying the correct person that came out with that point. If not, apologies. But Fraser mentioned that there was talks or reports on Dylan having a second phone, or a second phone being bought in Dylan's name. If that's the case, what would be the motive behind that, and how did they buy it under Dylan's name? Does that mean they've got Dylan's card, his credit card, or whatever card that you use in America? So they've got his details. That would mean that maybe the suspects could buy other stuff and abuse it and, benefit that way financially. You know what I'm saying? And that could tie back with the whole conflict, the whole idea of the financial motivation behind the whole outcome of Dylan's disappearance. Like when I said, Dylan receiving the check, People hear about it within the bar nearby, word spread, and then someone ambushes Dylan, maybe like Jim. Jim comes along, try and search for items, searching for the money, isn't successful, gets caught by Dylan, gets into some kind of fight, takes him out, retaliates, and then it ends bad for Dylan. So there is that. But you know, it's like that question, how stupid is or are the suspects? You know, if they were to buy other things, you know, if they bought another phone in Dylan's name and then started doing other stuff, you know, the family would have catched on. Someone, they would have been checking the bank accounts, they would have been checking all that, seeing activity, has anything gone missing or not, and no reports have been mentioned about that, okay? And the other question is, if someone was to buy a phone under Dylan's name, what would be the point of that? Would it be to send like a message pretending to say that Dylan is alive and he's moved elsewhere? You would have seen it in the movies or TV shows. Someone's gone missing, whether it be kidnapped or killed, and then the individual will use that person's phone and type in a similar way to pretend that they're alive but that in hiding or they've gone on holiday. Just like how people might even send fake postcards to the address of the family pretending to be their son, so there's less suspicion. Now that can't be the case either in this one, because family haven't given updates of Dylan reaching out in any way, whether it be real or fake, him or somebody else impersonating him. None of that has happened. So that would rule out the idea of a second phone being used and being bought, because there isn't a motive, a purpose behind any of that. It would be interesting though to get an idea if the original claim was true about the phone being found. Is it Dylan's original phone, or could it be that supposed second-hand phone that's been bought? That would be interesting to find out, wouldn't it? You can leave your comments down below, your thoughts on the phone. Is it proven that Dylan's phone has been found? Do you think that maybe a burner phone has been used at some point to communicate with suspects? Maybe on the plan, the outcome, you know, dealing with the after effects and so on. Who knows? Now, to tie in Julie's point, bit of a contrasting one in terms of responsibility, but it does make sense. It's to do with, Julie said that family members did have access to Dylan's accounts to go on his social media pages, such as TikTok and maybe on Facebook or something. And then they were letting everybody know that it was them and not Dylan himself. So there was no confusion. So that makes sense, right? You know, it's good to alert people, because if you suddenly changed something or said hello, and then you, it sounds like someone's nearby. I heard footsteps. That's weird. Anyway, if you heard, do you know what, Penguin, C2, get the door. There we go, guard me. So, as I said, if you've got people reaching out on Dylan's profile, giving a message, a public one or something, saying, it's just us, just a family, we wanted to let everybody know, just in case you see the activity status, you know, it says online, offline, because that could trigger a big response from people and a lot of confusion and a lot of false hope. So it's good that they've done that at least. Now, I don't know what social media accounts Dylan has, unless it's just direct messages, the direct message apps, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp and stuff like that. Maybe that's what they're referring to. But they're talking about accounts. Well, the only one that does exist, or what I've seen at least publicly, is Dylan's TikTok page. And if they got access to that, they might have changed his profile picture, and they might have DM'd everybody on the site saying, we've changed this in memory of Dylan, whatever. But it wouldn't really make any sense. Why change the profile picture of somebody's account if they're missing? What does that really do? It makes no sense whatsoever, does it? I mean, if the profile picture was changed to something like in memory of Dylan or find Dylan, something like that, then maybe it would be a bit more appropriate. But to just randomly change it to another picture, it just doesn't really make any sense. So there is that to take in mind. Now, this is the other thing. When it came to people in the Kenny Veach case, some accounts did change their profile pictures. Like an example, at times there was actually a witch hunt against me. Some people weren't satisfied, some people were a bit annoyed with maybe certain points mentioned or the way things were being covered, and then they ended up creating impersonation accounts with my username and profile picture, leaving dodgy comments and links to make it seem like it's coming from me. Some people fell for it and then started questioning me, saying, why are you acting in such weird ways? Why are you messaging this and that? Why are you giving out phone numbers? And it's like, that's not me. It's somebody else. Changing the profile pictures, changes in behavior. Bit unusual. Must be a deeper reason. Now, there was like, was there a, okay, I'll tell you this, okay. It's not to do with the profile picture, but it's to do with possible access to the account with the Kenny Veach case. So Kenny's missing for many years, and then out of nowhere, his videos end up being deleted. Some of his unknown, or for most people, unseen hike videos. There'd be no need to delete them. You'd keep it up. His M Cave hike video, his popular one with millions of views, is still up to this day, as well as his room tour video and his inventions. But his older hike footage is no longer around. And it's like, who deleted it? Why? And like, who had access to his account? What was the whole reason and purpose behind it? So that's kind of like in the Dylan Rounds case. Who's got access to Dylan Rounds' account, and like why they're changing stuff? Doesn't really make sense there, does it? Now, let's just be real. You know, with all these stories, doesn't mean to say it's always entirely true. So the person making the observation about the profile picture changing, maybe they were bullshitting, or maybe they are being genuine. But either way, it kind of like ties certain things together and could explain, you know, other reasons, like with the family having access to Dylan's accounts. But I don't know how many accounts Dylan has. You know, I only saw TikTok. Do you know any other accounts? Have you come across them online? Have you ever messaged Dylan in the past? Did he reach out to you? Was anything ever said? Anything important? Any signs of concern, worry, danger? You know, any of that. Feel free to, you know, leave a comment down below or reach out in some other way, because it could help, you know, so on. So where do we go from here? Well, what about the comments being deleted on channels? Now, first of all, I came across one prat, one complete plank, absolute plum, called Karmic something. I ended up having a right hissy fit, like, oh my God, why are you deleting my comments? Oh my God, why are you blocking me? Why are you blocking me? Why are you blocking my comments? Oh my God, shut up. Shh. You know, hold on. Do I have to get my finger out? Not like that. Do I have to get my finger out and say, shh, be quiet when I'm talking, okay? I can explain. But no, they don't have any of that. But I've seen it patterns with other people, okay? You know, when comments are deleted or certain things are removed, people are always on the defensive immediately. Why have you done this? Why have you done that? Why have you blocked me? Why have you removed a comment? And it's like, firstly, you're not blocked because people can see your comment. There you go. Congratulations. But then secondly, it's like YouTube is dodgy. No doubt about it. You see it with people's comments, people's subscriptions, notifications being turned off, and then they're like, oh, what's happened? I remember one person in the past saying, oh, I've not been around for months on your channel because I've not been notified of your new videos. And it's like, I don't know what's happened. YouTube, responsible. It happened with Sean Horlecker with the Kenny Veach case, doing live streams, and then YouTube supposedly shutting down his streams because he was revealing the truth about stuff within life and the case. Reducement in subscribers, people being unnotified, that sort of stuff. I kind of experienced that with some people having the notifications automatically switched off, which was a bit odd. I saw manipulation of views. I remember I did one video, I think it went up to about 4.4k. A few hours later, it dropped down to 2.2k. Then it dropped down to 666 views. And then it went back up to about 808. Very dodgy, very stupid and spasmodic. I know YouTube can like regulate the views, like if it's bot accounts, not real views that can be taken away afterwards, but to lose that many views, it just something doesn't seem right. So yeah, YouTube can be dodgy, and like with the comments. And as I said clearly before in the past and on, is that YouTube at times will remove them, classifies them as spam, especially if you provide links. If you, the owner of the channel, leaves a comment on your own video with a link, the comment will remain up. But if you left a comment on somebody else's channel with a link to a video or yours, it'll be instantly removed and put into the held for review section because it's seen as spam. Now, there are other times though where it doesn't get sent there and it just isn't anywhere to retrieve. So I don't know what happens there. YouTube must automatically delete comments. Very weird. Doesn't make sense, because you've got all these bot accounts with all these dodgy, follow-ons and links to other websites, and they're accepted, they're allowed through, they aren't filtered out or taken out. But a person saying, "Hi, I like your video," that ends up being censored at times. It makes no sense, it's stupid. Then again, speaking of comments being deleted and removed, like with Kenny Veach missing, then after a few years after his disappearance, his comment, his final trace of his online existence is removed because his comment is magically deleted. And that was never solved. And it was on Son of an Area 51 worker video, Area 51. So yeah. So I just thought it was just worth bringing that up because some people still can't seem to understand how YouTube works and how dodgy they can be. Okay, so Penguin is back, but not for long because it's bedtime for him, even though it's morning. Go to sleep, Penguin. Yes, go to sleep. Go to sleep now, you little shit. No? Okay then. There you go. Choke me, harder. What the fuck? Don't know what he's on, but there you go. Are you going to sleep now? Yeah. Yeah, he's unconscious. Good. You sleep there. Anyway, that basically, I think I'll leave it there now, okay? This was like a brief overall discussion video about the case, where certain things are at, okay? And, certain people, characters, names, that people might not know. Because at the end of the day, there'll be new people that come and go and so on. So it's just about relaying things and repeating stuff so people understand, okay? Leave your thoughts down below. But first, before we go, because I forgot to bring it up, I will do another video and it'll be more to do with the conflict between certain individuals and reasons behind it, okay? I might have done something a bit like that previously, but the way things are shaping and heading, it just seems a bit different to the Kenny Veach case, okay? So a few questions around that. But before we go, I just want to give my opinion on the case, my actual thoughts, okay? So this is the way I see it. Is Dylan alive or not? What I would say is, if you didn't take into account how long he's been missing for, then yeah, he could be alive, held captive somewhere. That's my thoughts, okay? But with 2 months ongoing and he's not been found, there's a high chance he's not alive, and whether it be because certain suspects are in jail now, they may not be looking after Dylan anymore. What I mean is, if Dylan was held captive, the suspect might be visiting once in a while, giving him food or water. I don't know why, but that can happen. You've seen it in the movies. Keep the individual alive long enough for a certain motive, maybe a certain reward, ransom, etc. You know what I'm saying? But if an individual is locked up, then they can't visit the individual and they can't say where the individual is to the police, because then that would incriminate them and then they're completely screwed. So they can't really do anything. And then obviously if Dylan's tied up, locked up, he'll die. And you can see that with similar behaviour or an outcome with Chase. And oh my God, this is where it gets weird. So Chase was originally seen running out of the desert with no shoes on, covered in blood. Dylan witnessed that and picked him up. And then there was that theory that Dylan might have been running across the desert himself when he was being chased by someone because his boots were left on the ground and there was blood on the boot. So it was almost like what you witnessed is what you become. That's the reality. That's what happens. And the same could be said about patterns in behaviour and what we've previously seen with Chase's last known homestead. With Chase being imprisoned, okay, his dog might have passed away because of that. You might be thinking, well, who buried the dog? It's a bit questionable that, but from what some people said, they said it could be one of those, a dog shelter, a dog hole, little bunker for the dog to go in where it's cooler, when it's hot weather. So if we're basing it off that idea, the dog just died because Chase wasn't around to feed it, to give water. The same could be said about that chicken coop. Those chickens are dead, as you saw, just completely gone because they've not been looked after. The actual area itself looks messy, untidy, dirty, the lot. And that's probably because Chase hasn't been there for some time, or it might be because of his arrest, so he hasn't been back since. And because of that neglect, it led to death of wildlife, animals. So that could tie in with my thought about if Dylan is held captive somewhere and the suspect who is looking after him in a twisted way is no longer around because they're holed up, then no one's looking after Dylan. So he would pass away. So that's the way I see it. In terms of location, my honest thoughts, I would say west. Somewhere west, because of the phone ping being that way in the radius and it heading towards Montello, where there are a few abandoned buildings and sheds, okay? And with Chase, someone like Chase coming and going out of Montello, and maybe Jim as well being in there at some point, that's the way I see it, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Do I think anything else will happen from here on now? I don't know. I do feel there probably will be more twists and turns. That wouldn't surprise me. We've seen it previously. It could happen again. But I think I'll leave it there for now, okay? You can leave your thoughts in the chat. What do you think about the video? What do you think about my opinion of what I said about Dylan? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a reply below if you wish to. That's it for now. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching and goodbye.